Hi guys. So I wanted to review with you what the 5 stages of plot are. So I made a video and I recorded myself taking some notes. So I know you did the brain pop on plot, and it told you that plot is basically the story, right? Tells you from the beginning to the end what happens in the story. So I'm going to explain it to you in a couple of different ways, and this is the first way. So here's my wonderful video of the 5 stages of plot. The stages of plot go from exposition, then to rising action to climax, climax to falling action, and then falling action to resolution. So as you can see from the notes, in the exposition, it's the beginning. We are introduced to characters, we are introduced to the setting. Now, I want you to remember that setting is where and when the story takes place. So if you have a story taking place this year, it would be 7th grade, right? It would be 2019 to 2020, anytime in this span. Once you get from the beginning to when things start to happen, that's called the rising action. Now, if your story is taking place in the 7th grade, and the main event of your story is that you and your best friend have a really big fight, the rising action is when we're going to see hints of when you and your best friend start to argue a little bit. Okay, it's as you can see from the notes, it's when things start moving quicker. Character or story issues begin. Okay? Once you get from rising action to when the main stuff kind of happens, that's the climax. It could be a big event that happens, maybe a big fight or an argument. It can be an issue that the main character is overcoming, like perhaps the main character is getting bullied. Um, and it would be something like here are some examples for you: a fight. It could be, like I said before, if a main character is getting bullied, it can be a big argument or a big main event that happens, and that main character maybe stands up to the bully and tells them to stop, or maybe they do get in an actual physical argument. But that's when the big problem happens. Okay. After the big problem is called the falling action. That's when, after the event happens, things start to kind of go back into place. So let's say a main character and a bully have a big fight. After the fact, the character is going to kind of deal with things and go through things differently than they would have done in the beginning because this big main event didn't happen. So I've given you a couple of examples, and as I'm finished typing the falling action notes, I just want to give you another example so you can see another kind of story that you could have. So if we're not talking about a really like a negative problem like bullying or a fight you have with a friend, your story can have a completely different way to look at it. For the exposition, the beginning of the story, you're going to introduce the characters and setting, but let's say your story is just a day when you went to Six Flags and you just had a really good day. In the beginning of the story is where you're going to tell your audience what is going on to start the main thing. Let me try to rephrase that. In the beginning of the story, you're going to say something like, I can't wait to go to Six Flags today. Or, oh, I've waited so long for this to happen. And finally, my friends and I are going to, I don't know, the pool or whatever it is. You're just going to let the audience know what you're doing and what's going to happen without telling us everything already right from the beginning. After you get to that kind of place where you introduce the characters and the setting, you're going to go into the rising action, like maybe you're on the drive there and you're talking about all the rides you're going to go on, or maybe there was an issue, maybe your car broke down and all you want to do is just get right to Six Flags, and you're on the side of the road waiting to get gas or something happens. It's when things start to get moving, they move a little bit quicker, maybe an issue happens, maybe it doesn't. Okay, so for that kind of story, your climax or big event would be when you had the most fun. So, of course, you're going to tell us about all the rides you went on and things like that, the main things that you want to talk about. But there's going to be one ride or one, I don't know, cotton candy or one game you played or something that was just a really good moment for that day. And then you're going to go to your falling action. Now, if it's a positive day and a positive story, you're not really going to have a lot of things to deal with. But maybe on the way home from the park or the last ride before you left Six Flags, something could happen. Maybe you were sad because the day's almost over, or you really wanted to go again, or you couldn't get to one ride because the line was too long. Whatever it is that happens after the climax and the big event, that's the falling action, whether it's a good way or a bad way. Or maybe you continued the day and you decided you're going to go back tomorrow, whatever the case may be. Okay? In any case, you're going to eventually get to the resolution. The resolution is how everything kind of falls back into place, how the story ends, and how the characters feel. So after a really good day at Six Flags, maybe you come home and it's just like you had such a good day and you can't wait to go again. Or maybe you have that issue that you had with your bully. Maybe you don't have that issue anymore. Or maybe people have learned that you're not going to take it. You're not going to be bullied. Or maybe it was a fight with a best friend, and after the falling action, after you kind of had your argument and stopped talking for a while, maybe you figured that you're better friends, and your resolution is that you guys are best friends again and you never want to fight again. Or maybe you're not friends anymore. However the story ends, you can make it your own. All right, so I cannot wait to see your stories.